him.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a second dose of the same thing.
Okay, well then I can go sleep until lunch.
There you go.
That's all right.
The only reason I came was to get something to eat. And to hear Sue. She's always so inspiring.
I agree.
Wow. Thank you.
That's why I went to church there.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. And thank you especially to our guest speakers. I'm going to let Mrs. Mobley introduce them in just a second. I just want to let you know this is like a little branch off. We have a dementia caregiver support that meets every third Tuesday of the month at 12 p.m. in the second floor living room if you're interested. It's always on that same schedule every month. If you have any questions about that, you can ask me after. There's also some cookies and drinks in the back, help yourself, and some handouts as well, which I'm sure our speakers will talk more about. So.
We want to welcome you to the Dementia Monthly Meeting where we share our experiences, our concerns, and our support for each other. Our guests today are Reverend Sue Hudson and Jim Smith, and they will share with us their plans for a dementia sanctuary here in the North Carolina Sandhills region. Since I'm no authority on this subject, but living through the nightmare called dementia, as many of you are, I will turn the program over to Sue and Jim.
Can I give you a hug, Gail? I'm going to move that up a little bit. Hello, can you hear me okay? Is that good? Well, I don't have a script, so I'm here to be with you and to be supportive of what's going on in your life. Whatever your connection is to brain change, I've been involved with Dr. Karen Sullivan, neuropsychologist in Moore County, who is, I think, the only neuropsychologist in Moore County that has spent most of her career diagnosing brain change / dementia. And dementia is a huge umbrella term that includes all different kinds of diagnoses. It can be Alzheimer's, it can be some form of prefrontal temporal dementia. It can be Lewy body dementia. So it isn't just one diagnosis. And all of us have brain changes in the course of our life. When we're under a lot of stress, our brain goes to fight or flight mode, even if we don't have a diagnosis of brain change. So Karen Sullivan has spent her entire career understanding the brain and how to keep it healthy, how to take care of it, how to protect it. And she will tell the story that she dropped out of high school to take care of her grandmother, who was her favorite person on the planet, to love her and spend time with her as a care partner in her home. And then she went on to get a PhD from Harvard to know how to take care of people with any different type of brain change in a respectful, loving way. So at this point in her career, she feels like the way people are treated with the diagnosis of dementia isn't good in general. I'm not saying I think what you are doing, Susan, is fabulous, that you have a support group here, but the healthcare system as a whole doesn't focus on the person as much as the person needs to be seen, heard, valued, and loved. And the reason I dove in deep end, yes, I am a swimmer and I dive in the deep end, with Dr. Sullivan, she wanted to see if people would volunteer a little bit, medium, or become a champion. And I pondered that. Well, if I'm helping, I'm diving in deep. because Karen Sullivan diagnosed my father with Lewy body dementia and Alzheimer's in about 2013, when she was new to Moore County. And it wasn't hard to get an appointment with her, but now there's sometimes a waiting list of a year or two. But when I had to kidnap my father from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am a pastor and my husband's a pastor, and we had to do it Easter week. So just think about that. I got a call from the police that my dad was out in the middle of the night, not properly attired, looking for his car that was in the garage. And my phone number happened to be on his desk. So my husband and I actually had to kidnap my father from Pittsburgh, the home he had lived in. We went up the week after Easter and invited him to come stay with us for a couple weeks, but we knew it was forever until he never went back. But Dr. Sullivan was there for us with a diagnosis, and her recommendation is the sooner the better you get a diagnosis, because there's all different types of brain change. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to discern which type you have. But as with my father, who had Alzheimer's and Lewy body dementia, there's certain medications you do not give to somebody with Lewy body dementia that you might give somebody with Alzheimer's. So having the distinct diagnosis is helpful in finding the best treatment for a person going through that. So anyway, I dove in to be a part of the Engaged Brains movement. Dr. Sullivan got a 3-year grant from the Reed Healthcare Foundation to change everything about how we look at people with a diagnosis, how we support their care partners, and also healthcare professionals, not to mention faith communities and retirement homes. So her goal was to change the world, starting with Moore County. And the next stage I will leave for Jim to talk more about. We have been involved with the Engaged Brains movement, and part of that involvement meant that we got training in Hillsborough with a lady named Teepa Snow, and this is a dementia caregiver guide that Teepa wrote, where she has spent her career being supportive to people with a diagnosis of brain change, and the way she calls the stages of dementia are GEM states, G-E-M. What are gems? Diamonds. What did you say?
Jewels.
Jewels, exactly. Emeralds, amber, ruby, pearls. They're valuable, aren't they? We value gems. So she brought a whole new terminology to value the various stages of brain change. And the one that is the furthest down the road is the pearl. The pearl is kind of closed in, but of great beauty and value. And what's in the pearl is still in the pearl. They're beautiful, they're touching. And so she has created a book that talks about appreciating the different stages of brain change so that you treat people with love, respect, dignity. And slow down. When we were at Teepa Snow's training, I made the mistake of sitting up front, Jim. And Teepa came up to me in the training, and she wanted to demonstrate what the amber pearl stage might be like. And she took my drink and started pouring it on the ground. And she was the lecturer. She was the one standing at the microphone. And I was like, oh, didn't know what to do. And what she started teaching us was how to redirect a person that might be doing something that is challenging. Shall we call it challenging? And how to, so Jim, I'm going to practice on you just a second.
Maybe dangerous.
Hey Jim, I'm Sue.
Hey, Sue.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Do you need help to get up these steps?
Probably do.
Do you mind? walking with you?
Not at all.
Can I help you right now?
Carry.
Well, probably can't carry you, but do you want to just stay seated?
I'll just.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Jim. So, Teepa Snow taught us one of the big changes with people is that we need to slow down. So, Jim is getting ready to have a hip replacement soon. Do you think he wants to walk up here? No. But I'm trying to meet and greet and engage with him. And one of the things we learned was identify yourself, although I forgot my name tag, so you're supposed to point to your name tag and say, "Hi, I'm Sue," and you put out a hand of greeting. But if the person doesn't put their hand back to you in greeting, step back. Don't invade their personal space. Give them time to adjust and to want you in their to invite you into their personal space, or give them space and say, "I'll come back another time when it's more convenient." And another thing Teepa Snow taught us was take a hand and then turn, kind of like this, then kind of thumb to thumb, come beside the person, so that you're not staring face to face, which is kind of intimidating. But if you come alongside the person, it's more supportive and less intimidating. So by the time I got done with 8 hours of training with Teepa Snow and the other 60 champions, when I got home to my house, I was teaching my husband and daughter how to do that. Because by the end of the day, you did it with everybody. You greet them, eye-to-eye contact, and sometimes visual perspective changes. So you need to greet a person within their vision capacity. So you get close, don't get too close to their personal space, which was about 6 feet away, your arm, their arm. And then as they welcome you, you can get closer, you can take their hand, you can walk beside them. And if they're agitated, angry, annoyed, sometimes you can help direct them by saying, "I really need your help. Could you help me?" Instead of bossing them around and telling them what to do, which is what people experience when they have a diagnosis of brain change. And many years ago, one of my church members got an early diagnosis of brain change in Moore County. And she said from that day, the doctor immediately turned towards her husband and spoke to him as if she wasn't in the room. And he told her, she said to her husband, "You have a diagnosis, your wife has brain change, Alzheimer's, dementia. You need to take the checkbook, you need to do this, you need to do that." And she felt invisible. And she was a member of our church. She's still living. They retired, went up to the mountains of North Carolina. And I got a book in the mail and a letter from her this week. And she's amazing and doing well. But when we visited her about a year or two ago, she didn't try to be the hostess with the mostest. She didn't try to cook for us. She said, "Come stay, there's bedrooms here, there's a frozen pizza in the fridge, get what you want when you want it." So she has learned not to try to do everything, be everything, but she still has a lot to give. And she started an Alzheimer's and Dementia Support group up in, I think, Watauga County, where there was not one. And she helped start the program with dementia. And she's still participating and still helping to lead, but not all by herself. Because one thing, when people get a diagnosis, they want to hide it. They don't want people to know. And partly because people quit talking to you or they treat you differently. But what Dr. Sullivan has shown us is we need each other. We need a team. We need support groups like this dementia care group that you have here. That is fabulous. And support groups, particularly for the care partners who feel overwhelmed trying to take care of the person they love and also having to take care of themselves, and they need a team. They need friends, brothers and sisters, people that are going through similar situations. And so we're building a community in Moore County, but only not just Moore County. We want it to like be contagious so that every county has a place where people recognize that we are still us. Turning it over to Jim Smith. Still us.
Thank you.
Can I help you, brother?
Yes, ma'am. You can.
I don't want you to pour my drinks. And hold on to the-
About 4 years ago, our daughter and I began to notice a little bit of short-term memory loss from Peggy. Would you like more ice in your tea? 2 minutes later, would you like more ice in your tea? Like most people, we tended to ignore it for a long time. We tended to deny it. We certainly didn't want to bring it up to Peggy and call it to her attention. It's the wrong thing to do. Once we realized that we truly had an issue, we began to tackle the healthcare system as fast as we could to learn all we could about the disease and what we could do about it. It's a slow, arduous, frustrating task. It often takes up to 2 years from noticing the symptoms to getting an accurate diagnosis. Primary care, a competent provider to do a cognitive evaluation, finding a neurologist, 6 months later having an appointment with a competent neurologist, and finally a diagnosis. Ironically, Peggy's amyloid PET scan that confirmed her diagnosis was September the 13th of 24. September the 13th of 24. We had been waiting for about 6 months to attend a program we had heard about that began 5 days later, the Engage Brain Project with Dr. Karen Sullivan in Moore County. Around the world, we're living through a profound shift. People are living longer than ever before. By 2050, the number of adults 60 and older will double globally, reaching more than 2 billion. That's something for us to celebrate. It reflects advances in medicine, in public health, cancer, heart disease, but there's a quieter reality that comes with that success. As we get better at helping people live longer, more people are living into the years when the brain becomes vulnerable to diseases like Alzheimer's. So the number of individuals and families impacted by dementia is rising dramatically. In North Carolina alone, there are 210,000 people living with Alzheimer's disease today. More than 380,000 caregivers. It's not uncommon to take 1 or 2 years from that first moment of concern to receiving that diagnosis. And during those times, it's the families living quietly at home with the disease. Dementia does not just affect memory. It reshapes identity. It reshapes relationships, daily life for everyone involved. The very thing that our brains are designed to do to connect with one another begins to fracture. Isolation begins to occur. Brain disease explains part of that fracture, but so does the stigma of brain change. Systems that treat symptoms while overlooking the emotional and relational realities of brain change. People living with dementia lose structure, purpose, and belonging. You immediately lose your identity. You're identified as an Alzheimer's patient. Care partners become isolated and overwhelmed. Healthcare workers get burned out and underprepared for relational care. Long before the end of life, people disappear from community life, not because they're gone, but because they do not know how to stay connected. However, here in the Sandhills of North Carolina, we have a tremendous new resource that's changing the face of dementia. Still Us is a program that is growing out of the Engage Brain Project. What we've learned in the last 2 years from Dr. Sullivan is amazing. The 70 champions have had extensive training in how to appropriately approach people with brain change. Over 3,000 people in Moore County have been going to monthly classes with Dr. Sullivan, learning how to deal with people with brain change, learning about brain change, and learning about what to do about it. The champions have each completed at least one project. Examples are engaged golf. Many golfers in Moore County have stopped playing golf because they have Alzheimer's. Well, now you can play putt-putt with a partner at a very exclusive course in Pinehurst for free. It has brought people back out to golf. Every patient in every memory care unit in Moore County has personally received a music headset, professionally loaded with music of their age by a Girl Scout as her senior Girl Scout project. Dementia-friendly cinema at the Sunrise Theater every month. The volume is a little lower, the lights are up a little bit, the popcorn and drinks are brought to you at your seat, there's valet parking, and it's all free. Although the fellowship from First Health is ending in May, we know we cannot stop. Under the leadership of Dr. Sullivan, a group of us are moving forward with a dream of hers. The first I don't care about this. I don't care about this. Can you tell? The first in the nation Dementia Care Farm Sanctuary. We have formed the Still Us Foundation. We're building a new model of dementia care rooted in belonging, purpose, and human connection. We envision a community where people with dementia continue to live relational, meaningful days, where care partners are supported, guided, and emotionally held, and where care partners and workers discover purpose and confidence, and where communities know how to include, not withdraw. We're not building a facility. It's a sanctuary and a system of support. Still Us focuses on the full care circle. For the person, we offer purposeful day programming built around one-on-one trained companions. We have 3,000 volunteers trained and waiting to help persons with brain change. Each participant is paired with a consistent, engaged friend who walks alongside them during the day, creating rhythm, engagement, dignity, and connection. For the care partner, we provide deep emotional support and neuro-navigation, helping families understand what is to expect, how to plan ahead, how to navigate the emotional and practical realities of the journey. For the healthcare workforce, we deliver person-led, strength-based training that helps clinicians, aides, and volunteers to see the person beyond the diagnosis, reconnect meaning to their work, and provide more humane care. The relational infrastructure. In the state of North Carolina, and like most states, the requirement for working in a memory care unit is 0. You have to have no education to work in a memory care unit. That usually they're the lowest paid minimum wage staff. The relationship, the numbers are often, I don't know, I'm not going to quote yours, maybe 16 to 1, maybe 8 to 1. There's no way. The average time spent on a patient in a memory care unit from a caregiver is 11 minutes a day. That's the national average, 11 minutes a day. That's usually when they're feeding you. That's it. That's not engagement. Still Us is in its founding phase, and it's the moment to shape what it becomes. We're inviting early partners to help build a one-on-one day programming, care partner navigation systems, workforce training pipelines, sanctuary infrastructure, and a model that can be replicated in other communities. This is not simply a program that we want to fund. It's a new way of caring to build together. We're committed to meeting today's donor expectations through a community voice, measurable impact in equity and transparency. People living with dementia and care partners help shape the programming. We want scholarships to ensure access regardless of income. We track caregiver strain, engagement, emotional well-being, workforce retention, and community participation. Partners will receive regular updates and opportunities to remain connected to the workforce. We're inviting supporters into helping us redesign how communities respond to brain change, Dementia, folks, is not rare. Caregiver exhaustion is not rare. Healthcare burnout is not rare. Belonging can be rare. And when it exists, it changes everything. Our logo's been finalized, our website is live. We're putting out a newsletter frequently to inform folks what's going on. We've identified actually a possible location for this farm sanctuary. I'm waiting right now, we're way overdue for the appraisal on that farm. If we get the appraisal today or tomorrow, we're ready to pull the trigger and start the process of purchasing this farm. We have active board of directors. We have over 3,000 volunteers trained. We've already identified the staff that we need and are beginning to hire as needed. We need to develop the first location in Moore County because that's where the proof of concept has already been working. However, our long-term goal is replicability. We've designed everything that we've done to be recorded in a documentary so that we can repeat it elsewhere. I'm aware of a large plot of land right here. Are you? We're talking to people here about that. There are several people who are very interested in that. We're also talking about something else. In Wisconsin, there's a dementia village being built, a cluster of homes being built where 2 to 4 couples live in a home with a caregiver. Wonder where that could go. Halfway between Scotia Village and the hospital. In the Netherlands, there are over 250 care farms. In Canada, there's one. Here in the U.S., there's not a single one that covers the patient, the caregiver, and the healthcare worker. We want to be the first. There are tremendous advancements going on in the research of this dreaded disease. A few years ago, the only way to diagnose the disease was an autopsy after death. Then they developed the amyloid PET scan to accurately diagnose it. Just in the last few months, they've developed a blood test. You see these ads on television and on Facebook, it's popping on every day, to take the blood test for Alzheimer's. Some primary care physicians are urging patients to do that in the 30s and 40s. If you're positive for amyloid plaque in the 30s and 40s, the probability is that you will have Alzheimer's later. Well, get rid of the amyloid plaque now. There are 2 drugs on the market that are allowing you to do that. My Peggy has just finished her 18-month course of therapy to dissolve her amyloid plaque. Her amyloid plaque is lower than a non-Alzheimer's patient of her age at this point. That's a tremendous occurrence. It does not reverse the disease. It slows the process of the disease. But those drugs are not without risk. You have to do a gene type to see whether you're qualified for those drugs or not. There are catastrophic side effects possible if you have the wrong gene types. You need a good neurologist, and they're hard to find. Additionally, you need to be aware of support groups like this one. There are several in Moore County. Peggy and I go to a couples support group, which is tremendous to help with the isolation. There are 3 couples in that support group that we go to dinner with once a week because we're going through the same thing together. They know what we're going through, we know what they're going through. There's also a program in Pinehurst called Pathfinders. This is a couple who have both lost a spouse with Alzheimer's, and they volunteer their time to navigate people through the process. I put brochures back there for them. Guess what they charge? Nothing. You call, you make an appointment, you sit down, they walk you through everything you need to do. Unfortunately, no offense, Jim, when you see your primary care physician and he says you have Alzheimer's, he says, I'll see you in a year. Where do I go? What do I do? Especially in Laurinburg, you know. How many neurologists do we have here? It's hard to get into a good one. Very hard. So you need somebody to help you navigate through the process. The point of Sue and I being here today is to offer you a little bit of knowledge, maybe a little bit of hope, maybe some light at the end of the tunnel if you're dealing with this. But let me encourage you, if you have any thoughts about you or a loved one having these issues, don't ignore it, don't deny it, attack it and face it head on. Get busy and don't just sit on the sofa and say, oh well. There's urgency in finding competent treatment. Peggy's mother had Alzheimer's, and it was her greatest fear of her life. That she would have it as well. When I told Peggy her diagnosis, I said, darling, got bad news. We got the results of your amyloid PET scan. You have Alzheimer's. She said, so what? We're going to live our life. We wear name or armbands that say Alzheimer's, so what? Don't let Alzheimer's define you. Live your life in spite of it. Thank you all for your time today. We'll answer any questions you might have. Sue will answer any questions you might have.
There's a pickleball fundraiser up in Moore County next Saturday for anybody that wants to come play pickleball. There's a silent auction, gift baskets, bake sale, concessions, and 7 Lakes pickleball. Anybody's welcome.
And if you're pretty good at pickleball, Dr. Carter Grind is an Alzheimer's patient. He is also an excellent tennis and pickleball player. And he will smoke you if you come. There are a lot of people going to that tournament just to try to play against Carter Grind.
Is this planned farm a residential farm or not?
Daycare. Daycare only. Daycare only. Thank you. Good question.
What terms? That was how you don't say Alzheimer's, you call it something else, and
Right.
you don't.
Okay, the
Names,
names,
labels,
the
stuff.
labels that we have chosen as a part of the Engaged Brains is brain change rather than dementia. Because dementia, people feel diminished. They feel like, if I have that, nobody talks to me anymore. So I know I use brain change as my new vocabulary word. And the second one is care partner rather than caregiver, because it's a team. And sometimes the caregiver feels burned out, bored out, empty. But if it's a care partnership, and see, Peggy is the partner of Jim, and she rocks it. They're a team. And they come together, they represent both sides of that story. And then the third partner is the healthcare professional, because they are overworked, underpaid, and have too much to do to be able to have time to just sit and be with a person, where you don't have to do anything but just sit and tell a joke together. I brought my little playmaker ball. When I've done some memory care worship services at different senior living places, we do it with the ball. Whoops! What song do you want to sing, Peggy?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday. Whose birthday is it? So to bring joy and laughter with people, you have to kind of find out what they love. You know, I wouldn't throw the ball at anybody, but I think Peggy can handle it.
You know not to throw it at me.
But to just bring a little joy and interpersonal relationships. So the terminology, brain change, care partner, and then the healthcare professional work.
We envision, and we already have our first grant from First Health to train healthcare workers. We can't ask an hourly employee to come in on a Saturday on his or her own to be trained. They can't afford it. They got childcare. They've got to drive there. We want to pay them to come to us to be trained on how to deal with patients. Scotia Village doesn't have the funds to do it. None of the memory care units can afford to pay their employees to go get training at that level. So we're trying to develop a system where we can pay them to come to us to train them. That's Dr. Karen's whole philosophy on things.
One thing that when you spoke to us a couple weeks ago, when you told about the man who always sat alone, never spoke.
I was just gonna tell that story.
And that was really stayed in my mind. Even when I fell, it was still there.
So I'll tell that story if you
Yeah,
want.
okay, that was really impressive because it led into why you started all of this, but why what a change it was to have someone individually, somebody got with him individually
Saw him.
and made him feel like he was really important and that someone understood what he had once done and what he could share with others.
tell that
and
story,
how it
Sue.
changed him around.
So part of Dr. Sullivan, thank you. Part of Dr. Sullivan's program of Engaged Brains, she was in charge of the programming at a memory care unit in Southern Pines called Terabella. And I volunteered to be part of that, and many volunteers from the champions that were trained showed up on that, Thursday for like 3 months. Every Thursday, we were in charge of the programming. There were dogs, children, that came and drew cards with people. I showed up and did a little worship time with them. The man that you're remembering, he was in the memory care unit, very nonverbal, sitting in a chair, kind of falling asleep in the chair. And we learned from the family that he was an airline pilot. And that was his whole career. And so I think it was Dale who does the Pathfinders, the husband of that team, does woodwork stuff. And he built what do you call it?
Cockpit.
A cockpit. He built a cockpit control pad thing out of wood as a gift to that man.
Dials and wheels and gauges.
And a big wood thing, and he'd be turning and clicking, and once they gave him that cockpit, he came alive. And he was using it constantly. And there was another lady in the memory care that would come and kind of hang out with him while he was doing that, and neither one of them were very verbal. But they're going to be in the documentary movie that Dr. Sullivan has made, and it was beautiful. But you had to find out what was he good at? What was his life like? And that brought him out of his isolation and brought him joy and community.
Let me tell you about Fred. Fred used to play golf. He used to be really good at it. And he had to give up golf because he had Alzheimer's. He heard about this engaged golf at the putt-putt course and came to play with a partner, started playing putt-putt golf, and decided he would ask his grandkids to come play putt-putt with him. He had lost his family. He had nothing to talk to his grandkids about. He had nothing to talk to his kids about because he had Alzheimer's. He was isolated. They started playing putt-putt together and brought that family back together. He said, it changed my life, playing putt-putt.
And I know he couldn't drive anymore, but now he drives his golf cart around
Around the golf course.
safely with his family and friends,
Right.
laughing,
And
joyful.
We could go on and on and on with stories like that. The whole point of Still Us is, and Sue had a lot to do with this, when a patient has Alzheimer's, you write them off immediately. You label them and they're gone. The truth is they're still there. Most of who they were is still there. We had a problem at Engaged Golf 2 weeks ago. Some of the people from the memory care unit in very advanced stages came to play golf, and we weren't really prepared for it. And so had a couple of incidents. One was going to hit somebody with a golf club, because she just decided to do that. And there was nobody there except a few volunteers to stop her. So Karen says at board meeting, well, let's hire some CNAs to be there to take care of this. I said, wait a minute. What about all of our volunteers and our retired nurses that we have in our cadre? Let them be there. So we've developed an inclusion team of physical therapists, registered nurses, and people like that, including Peggy. Peggy's one of the two leaders of this, to be at engaged golf in the future. Let me tell you, she may have Alzheimer's, but if somebody were to fall out in this room right now, she's a nurse.
She still does CPR. You want to say that louder?
I always tell Jim I can still do CPR.
That's what you have to remember. That's why we're calling it Still Us. When you look at a patient with Alzheimer's, don't write them off. Most of who they were is still there. They lost 5%, but maybe 95% is still there. Never forget that.
Any more questions you want to give us? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but there are people here that aren't part of the Alzheimer's support or the Dementia Support Group. I would love it if Susan would tell us what is being done now with engaging people, like going out for a picnic, which just happened a couple weeks ago. What Scotia's doing to engage in people that are confined, basically.
Yeah, so one thing in our dementia care unit, we have been working on beefing up the activities and engagement. We have some additional dementia care training that we've been trying to go through with some of our staff. Like Jim mentioned, the legal requirements from the state are minimal, but we try to do a little above and beyond that. We got a new position for another staff called a household coordinator, whose main focus is quality of life. So nursing, we look at quality of care. We want to look at quality of life as well, which includes a lot of those activities. So they went to the park, did an outing to the park from the dementia care unit. They've taken some down to eat in our bistro. They have different craft activities that they're doing. There is a therapy dog that comes around. I was interested, you perked my ears when you said the worship service. We do have a worship service that happens in our skilled nursing, but not specifically on our dementia care unit, so also absorbing some ideas from you. But those are just a few of the things that we're having, but we're always looking for ways to grow and expand.
I did a hymn sing at Terabella. Peggy and I did a hymn sing over there. It's amazing. I had one dementia patient that stood right in front of me the whole time I was singing. And I sang right to her.
And the high school girls choir from Pinecrest High School came to sing with them one time. Was that the same time that you were doing it? And literally one of the people living in memory care got up and started singing and dancing with them as part of the choir. And they welcomed it. Welcomed it.
You know how important music is to people with brain change. Yes, Jim?
I've heard, building on what you said, that you can have some dementia patients, various kinds of dementia. It's amazing, if they were churches in their life, it's amazing how they can remember
Absolutely.
hymns.
Absolutely.
And they remember the 23rd Psalm.
Yep.
King James Version.
King James, you're right. King James Version. And the Lord's Prayer and many hymns, somebody who's completely nonverbal, because I would do the skilled nursing unit at Phoenix, and literally, kind of hung over in a wheelchair, but with a certain song here and there, every word clearly sung.
When they put those headsets on those patients and explained to them what they were doing and turned them on, there were people who were absolutely non-responsive who literally came alive. And of course, there's been a documentary about that called Alive Again.
Yeah.
Music and Memory, is that the program?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The music is so important.
And there will be a documentary that Dr. Sullivan has made for the past 3 years. Daniel Hamby, who lives in Charlotte, came and photographed and photographed and photographed and photographed. And we're all looking forward to seeing it, and it might be played at the Sunrise Theater and be available. Jim?
Would it possible to get on our, what's our YouTube our YouTube channel?
Sure.
Perhaps, yeah. We haven't seen,
It's supposed to come out by the end of the year, which does
It's going to be extraordinary.
I wonder if you could take some, people here with the brain change and take them to church.
Mhm.
We have a bus that picks us up,
Mhm.
and, we're not in the
Right.
brain change yet now. But that, just maybe a few,
If they're interested and would want to come, and if there were people that could kind of come as friends, like the one-on-one buddies,
yeah.
to be with them. Dr. Sullivan and she asked me to apply for this scholarship to go to a thing at a Buddhist, Mongolian Buddhist center in Indiana, where the whole focus was on brain change, and we were assigned a buddy in a memory care unit that we visited every day for 4 days. And it was extraordinarily having that buddy relationship. And so I think a one-on-one person would be great to take somebody to church and kind of just know what their needs are, what their preferences are.
I know here that we have, I'm not sure, I know there are 9 people that can be there in the memory care unit, but most of them have, they have a wife or a husband here that,
Could assist
you
with
know,
that.
already, gets with them and stuff during the day.
Right, and that's, yeah.
We have brochures back there on the pathfinders, that's if you need help navigating the system. We have brochures on Still Us, it's just a 2-pager. And then Sue and a team have started a new program for the next year at Bronson
Yeah.
Memorial.
And it's going to be a community circle on the 4th Thursday of the month, 2:30 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Brownson Memorial Presbyterian Church. If there was a group from Scotia that could be transported, we would welcome them. It would just have to be organized at Scotia to come and be there, but everybody's welcome. And it's going to be listening circles to just learn and build relationships.
I would like to do, I think we would have a number
We
of people.
love you. The first one of those, it's going to be a monthly meeting. The first one will be next Thursday. So a week from Thursday, 2:30 to 4 o'clock at Brownson.
So would
I think the people here will have to answer that question, if there could be a bus or a vehicle.
Just don't bring Jim McCoy.
I don't know, maybe he would be the bus driver.
Oh, no.